Great question. Everyone wants to deliver whatever products application they're working on like yesterday. Deliver better software faster. Easy, right? But there's one thing we cannot compromise on: security. Given the fast-paced nature of development and delivery, how do we maintain security? Especially when the code we develop and the applications we deploy are now residing in a place that's not within our comfort zone, in a place that's aptly called cloud, murky, right? Security is so important these days that experts had come together to formulate a new framework called DevSecOps. In my mind, it is an extension of DevOps that puts the security right in the middle, and rightly so. It aims to secure the software development process by integrating security early and throughout the software development lifecycle. I'm sure you heard of the term shift left, haven't you? But we will come to that later in the video. Before we go there, we need to understand that security is a sum of many things, not just a few vulnerabilities that creep into the code and a set of automation tests that identifies those vulnerabilities. Security is a state of mind, and it involves all parties, not just developers or DevOps engineers. To that end, let's take a look at some of the topmost considerations when it comes to security. One, like everything else, you need the backing from your senior leadership, not just a sponsorship, but they also need to be involved in setting security standards across the company. There should be well-defined governance around both people and data. Governance is a set of responsibilities and practices exercised by executive management with the goal of providing strategic direction. There are a lot of steps involved in this. First, you need to understand the organizational context, from their business processes to customers to global footprint to the company culture, all from a security perspective. This then helps us get a grip on how these security functions operate today. With that understanding, you can now develop an information security governance framework that then translates it into actions and controls. The framework will include a detailed list of methods, policies, standards, procedures, and so on, and will eventually help us as an organization to have security in the forefront of everything we do. Number two, let's move on to the next major cornerstone of security: regulatory compliance. Security compliance means adhering to the standards and regulatory requirements set forth by some agency, law, or authority group. And that is the main difference between regulatory compliance and governance mentioned earlier. Governance is optional and internal to the organization. It is the right thing to do, but it often takes a backseat. However, regulatory compliance is mandatory and is enforced by external forces. Sensitive data is to be protected. I'm sure you might have heard of terms like PII, personally identifiable information, PHI, protected health information, IP, intellectual property, etc. And there are regulations by government bodies around all of it. Every company has to adhere to these regulations, and getting the right tools in place to give visibility to any compliance issues will surely help. A lot of DevOps tools, without naming any names, provide compliance standards, adherence dashboards, and that helps companies stay on top of compliance issues. Number three, but security doesn't end with governance or compliance. What about the issues that creep into our code or applications, intentionally or unintentionally? This is where DevOps as a framework shines. Continuous testing, and that covers a lot, including vulnerability scanning, penetration testing, SAST, DAST, API testing, all of it. Continuous testing helps us deliver secure software by ensuring that testing is done continuously throughout the entire software development lifecycle. Automating these tests provides us critical feedback faster and helps us speed up the delivery of quality code. Shifting left, meaning identifying issues early on in the SDLC, helps us to fix them cheaply as opposed to identifying them later in production and then doing a lot of rework and retesting. Having said that, continuous testing is probably an area where most companies have made huge progress in the last few years. When we work with enterprises, we definitely see a higher level of maturity in the testing frameworks they use, the metrics they collect, and so on. Number 4, now that we have mentioned the different areas to pay attention to, we need to pick the right tools to implement these practices. The right tool or the set of tools depends a lot on the points I mentioned earlier, the technologies you use, the legacy code you might have, the expertise you have in the company, and so on. There may be other factors like budget, data residency, etc. that might force your hand one way or the other. And don't discount the migration effort you will need when you are moving to a new tool. You may also run into a lot of discussions around tooling like on-prem versus SaaS, buy it versus build it, IDPs, that is internal developer portals, platforms, the word agnostic, and so on. Tools from the backbone of everything we discussed so far, and I cannot stress enough the importance of picking the right one. Number 5, coming back to the topic at hand, even when you are set up in the best way to tackle any security issue scraping into code, in spite of our best efforts, we may err. The world of technology is rapidly shifting, and there are always new security risks that are identified frequently, from new vulnerabilities to innovative ways of data leak or third-party intrusion. As a company, you should always be prepared to expect the unexpected and mitigate risk as soon as they are detected. To that end, it is essential to have proper risk mitigation strategy that defines everyone's role in such an emergency. Gone are the days of assigning blame to an individual or a team when a security incident occurs. Security can only be achieved by collective ownership, by a mix of people, process, and tools, and hence DevSecOps. Well, hope you have learned something new from this video, or it maybe helped reinforce some of the knowledge you already had. Either way, we at Adaptavist are here to help, and we are happy to have a conversation if you want to dig deep into anything I discussed today. Thank you, and may you develop secure software faster